on a personal level, I was in a place where I felt like, let's say yes instead of no to things.
Okay. It must be different to start a band when you're like 40 to 50 than when you're 15 to 20, right? You had a gun to your head, cover that song. Which song would you choose? Because you have 4 bands, it's like 30% of all Swedish bands. And then, but if you would not have been in a band and not in music, where would Mikael Stanne be? So yeah, Mikael Stanne, thanks for seeing me and welcome to Brutal Assault. Nice to meet you.
Okay, thank you.
So yeah, so you are, well, first of all, I've been waiting to talk to you for a really long time because I keep seeing you live and I keep putting in a request with the promoters and I never got an interview until now, so I'm really happy to be here.
Oh yeah,
and,
fine, good.
And I follow all of your bands. You got 4 bands, so that's like 30% of all Swedish bands.
Definitely.
When do you sleep?
Very rarely. Maybe on airplanes and buses.
Okay.
In shuttles. No, it's a lot of work, but I'm very fortunate to work with a lot of really organized people because I'm not very organized myself. So all the trips and flights and buses and all that stuff is being handled by fantastic people, so that I don't have to, and so that makes everything easier. But it's
But are you ever home?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Sometimes. No, I'm home a lot, but it's also a lot of shows. There's tons of festivals. Some weekends are crazy. But I managed to make it work. I thought this was going to be like the toughest summer of my life. And maybe it has, but it hasn't been that bad.
We saw you in June at the festival here in the Czech Republic with Tranquillity, and then we are here, you know, so just 2 months later, different band. And on that, actually, the halo effect, you guys knew each other for all these years. I mean, like, I guess for like 30 years or more, some of you. Yeah. Why now? Why start the band now?
It was, we've known each other since we were teenagers, 15, you know, something like that. And we all kind of, I started Tranquillity and Niklas started, Gardinian and some other bands. And Peter eventually joined In Flames, but we always kind of, kept in contact, and we're always like, me and Peter have been neighbors forever, and so when this idea kind of started, when Niklas kind of left In Flames, and he was kind of like, I'm still gonna want to do something. I said like, let's, and I was just on a personal level, I was in a place where I felt like, let's say yes instead of no to things.
Okay.
Because why not? It's fun. We had just finished writing. I think there was the Atoma album, and I was kind of like, I was in a good mood creatively. Kind of, I wanted to continue to write lyrics, and so I was kind of like, send some songs to me, and we'll see what I can do. And I started kind of writing some lyrics for some of the songs, and then we contacted Peter and and Jesper and Daniel, and it was kind of like, this could be super fun. And it's like, I don't want to not be part of this, because this is awesome, And one of the big reasons was that let's do something. It was during the pandemic, to have something to do, and also to hang out. There was no other way to kind of hang out, and we don't see each other enough. So it was kind of like, Daniel lives far away, and Niklas does too. So it's kind of like, it's a way for us to hang out in the studio and write songs together. So that's how it started, and that's the kind of one of the biggest reasons.
So kind of back to the roots, old friends hanging out.
Exactly. I mean, that was not the excuse, but part of the reason. Like when we started in the first place, we were bored out of our minds when we were 14. Me and Niklas and Anderson, we were just sitting around like, just start a band so we do something. It was out of boredom and kind of a need for kind of community and be together and hang out.
That's really cool. That's really cool. But how do you I've been wondering, because I mean, your bands, of course, they're different, all of them. But how do you, with your kind of creative ideas and stuff, where do you decide? Okay, so this belongs here. This belongs here. Is there a different box for different things, different bands in your brain?
I mean, since I write the lyrics and the vocal melodies. That's it. So
but vocal melodies are super important, and they
but also like the way that Niklas and Jesper write together is very different from what we do with Tranquillity. It's very different from Skyline, of course, and extremely different from Cadaver. So it's just a matter of like finding that balance, and like Cadaver, for instance, it's so easy. That kind of music is in my blood since I was a kid. Like just old school Stockholm death metal, just fucking easy. Like it's so much fun. Like, but it's just, you know, and writing for DT is super difficult because we have a history of 30+ years of songs. You know, when you have to come up with something new, so that's the hard part. Writing for Halo Effect is just, Niklas is more kind of like heavy metal focused, and he has this very different way of writing songs as well. So that is just really interesting. It's just like, how do I make the most out of this? And I already know, like, this is a fantastic song. I love this. How do I make sure that I don't let the band down by adding vocals to it, kind of stuff. And I want to make the most out of it so that I don't screw the song up, that kind of thing. And with Skyline, it's totally different. It's like you can live out all your kind of 80s pop and goth and rock fantasies all at once. So so it's just, for me, it's totally different. All the lyrics are very, very different, obviously. So it's not like I write a bunch of stuff and then I was like, oh, I put it there. Everything is very much done. You know, after the music is almost there, we start doing demos and stuff, and then you figure out what to do. So for me, it's easy. But of course, I have to kind of separate. There's some stuff that I can do simultaneously, but most of the time it's kind of like, okay, now
I'm working on this.
A couple of weeks or whatever, or months, and just full focus on that, because it makes it better. Otherwise, it would be a mess.
I'm also curious because, I mean, you've been doing this since you were a teenager. I mean, I think I watched some documentaries on YouTube where you guys were walking around in Gothenburg and saying this is where this was and blah blah blah. You know, like it's all from the same, I don't know, square mile or whatever. But how it must be different to start a band when you're like 40 to 50 than when you're 15 to 20, right?
Yeah. Of course, everybody has a life to kind of adapt to. I think that's the hardest part. Like, you know, everybody has, you know, families or, you know,
kids and stuff,
obligations, you know, jobs, whatever. So that's the hard part, like, you know, to kind of maintain it. But just a matter of like, how much do you want to dedicate to this? You know, with Skyline, it's easy. Everybody is a full-time musician. DT, of course, and you know, with Halo Effect, we didn't really know, so we said like, let's do some. Let's see what we can do. You know. So it's all about kind of like balancing and, you know, home life with work and the band and all that stuff. So of course it's more difficult, but again, we have really great people that kind of manage us and make sure that we don't have to worry too much about all those boring things, and we can focus on the creative side.
But I guess you have less fights than when you're younger.
Yeah, of course. We didn't have much fight then either, but of course, you kind of know what you're getting into, and we know each other so well. So it's just, I mean, and that's part of it. Like, you do this because you love it, and it's because it's fun and it's challenging, and it's like a creative endeavor that you want to be a part of. Like, otherwise, what's the point? So, I mean, the only kind of conflict comes from kind of like scheduling and that kind of stuff, because creatively we know exactly what we want to do.
You know what you're getting. And you kind of develop to what you are now.
Exactly.
So
and also we can have like very, you know, grown-up discussions beforehand. So during the pandemic, when we decided to start Halo Effect, it was kind of like, all right, what can we do? What are we
not
prepared to do, and what will be fun? And we said, like, just if we like it, we all agree, then we do it. Otherwise, what's the point? So no super long tours, because nobody has time for that. We do festivals, we do short things here and there, just so that as long as it's, you know, keep it fun and not as work.
You agreed the rules up front in some sense. But okay, so now you've been part of shaping the kind of death metal Gothenburg scene, well, the Swedish or global scene to some extent as well. I mean, you guys brought this to the world. But what were your idols? You know, like who when you were starting, who did you look up to, like musically and stuff like that?
But it was like, as soon as I discovered kind of extreme metal, like first it was just, you know, new wave of British heavy metal and all that kind of stuff. That was awesome. But when I discovered Creator, Morbid Angel, Sodom, Destruction, that kind of stuff, that's when I realized that, this is what I want to do, you know, and especially like British Sabbath and Creator, I think was the biggest reasons for me to become a singer, and I wanted to sound like Mille and write lyrics like Martin Valkar from Sabbath, and I wanted to be on stage and kind of like let out aggression the way that Thomas Lindberg did from At the Gates. You know, he was one of my best friends, and like we lived very close to each other, and I always went to see them rehearse and saw all the shows like before At the Gates and stuff, and it was really, back then he was a big inspiration to me as well, just knowing that can be done. He's 2 years older than I, so it's like I went to see them and I was like, I can do that too.
Yeah, I'm allowed to do this.
Yeah, maybe that's even, that's possible. Like someone from my area can be on stage
out there screaming, furiously angry.
Yeah. So that was the beginning.
But you said you saw these bands like Creator, Sodom, and Sabbath, and these, and you said this. Then I knew what I would do. But if you would not have been in a band and not in music, where would Mikael Stanne be?
I don't know. Like me and Niklas, before we started the band, we were really into kind of graphical design.
Okay.
And me and Niklas were like in school together, and that was what I really wanted to do. Just to like lay out, design, graphic stuff, and but then I kind of gave up on it, and Niklas continued. So of course Niklas that's what he's doing right now still, and maybe I would have continued that. That's probably it.
But still something creative in some way.
Well, I like to work in work with people as well. I like to help out. So I've been working for a handicap organization for 17 years for people with disabilities, and kind of like to make sure that you get all the assistance and need that you need and all that stuff. So I've done that for same thing for 17 years, and then before that 10 other years that I've been at the company. So that's been a big part of my life as well.
Okay, that's really interesting. We're almost finished. One more. So, if the Halo Effect had to cover a non-metal song, you had a gun to your head, cover that song, which song would you choose?
Funny you should mention this, because we already have done this, and it's coming out kind of soon.
Oh, okay.
In a matter of days even, or 2 or 3 weeks. There's a cover track by a very non-metal band, one of the biggest bands of all time from Sweden. A band called Kent. And
great band.
And we did a cover of one of their songs, and it's coming out in on the 20th of August, I think.
Okay, that sounds really good.
Yeah, but it's fun to do. We're putting out an EP of covers. The first one was How the Gods Kill by Danzig, which is still pretty metal. But then we did 2 Swedish pop songs, 1 metal song that's coming soon as well, and 1 old school classic hard rock.
That's great.
Song that we love. So it's just songs that we grew up with, that we loved when we met, like when we were in our 20s, and just classics that we decided to let's see what we can do with them. So that was a fun pastime thing that we did last year, and now it's finally coming out.
Okay, so that's going to be interesting. Well, good luck on stage tonight. I'm going to be out there in the crowd watching you once again. I think for the 6th time in 3 years or something, because you don't. There's probably 2 of you or 3.
I might have clones, yes.
Yeah. Okay, great. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Have a great show. Thank you very much.